tribute to Jimmy Carter, talking about how he tried to lift people up at a pivotal moment, and saying that we all owe Jimmy Carter a debt of gratitude, and saying, he and Melania Trump send their condolences. And yes, Barack Obama and his wife Michelle also weighed in, talking about how Jimmy Carter, after his presidency, would regularly hold Sunday school services at his little church in Plains, Georgia. Hundreds of people would go along to those. The Obama said it was really a measure of Jimmy Carter's decency.
Thank y'all for
tributes as well from George W. Bush and Vice President Kamala Harris, and of course many other politicians as well, members of the House of Representatives and the Senate. I think this day was not unexpected, but it still feels momentous.
Indeed. And now let's take a look back, David, at what Carter will be remembered for. I mean, the Camp David Accords, possibly the first thing a lot of us think of when we think of his legacy for his time in office. Tell us a bit more about that. What else do you think he'd be remembered for his time as president?
Yeah, I think Camp David Accords is definitely up there. This negotiation between Israel and Egypt, a historic breakthrough in terms of peace. Carter also normalized relations with China, something that Richard Nixon had paved the way for with his visit. And Carter really put the spotlight on human rights as an issue, perhaps more than any president before him. So there were definitely some foreign policy successes. I think also history will be kind to the way Jimmy Carter addressed the climate crisis long before any other major politician. Really, he was warning of the dangers of America's addiction to fossil fuels, what that meant for global heating. He even installed solar panels at the White House, sadly, somewhat symbolically. Ronald Reagan soon took those down and turned them into museum pieces. But of course, it was a mixed record, and domestically, Carter wrestled with high inflation, economic problems, petrol shortages at fuel stations, and so he was doomed to serve only one term.
Indeed, there was that Iran hostage crisis as well during Carter's term in office that, was solved just hours after he left. In fact, he did, as you were saying there, only serve one term in office, but he had a very, very active life internationally afterwards. Tell us a bit more about what he went on to do, David.
So I started the tribute today describing him as the most successful ex-US president in history, because there really was a big second act in his life, particularly philanthropic work, working for an organization that built homes all around the world. I mean, we sometimes see footage of Carter himself at one of these Habitat for Humanity events, literally building a house with his own hands. He also, continued to speak out for human rights and other issues. He would guide the next generation, work with students. He, of course, set up the Carter Center in Atlanta, Georgia, which is still there today, doing significant work. And, of course, Carter is one of the few U.S. presidents to win the Nobel Peace Prize in recognition of all those efforts.
So Jim Carter died at the age of 100. That's a long time to live. It's a long time to live. I ain't never knew about him, but I'm reading up on him. I'm learning about him, so I could tell y'all more about him. You feel me? So look, Jim Carter died at the age of 100. So he lived a good life. Rest in peace. JC, rest in peace, JC. Thank y'all for subscribing to the YouTube channel. Like it, share, comment, subscribe. I'm gone.